Hey guys, Dwayne Bryant here from wagertalk.com with another edition of my MLB Daily Trend Report. Happy Monday morning, June the 12th. Let's get into some SDQL for today. Before I do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button as well, and also hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any videos or live streams on my channel. I'm going to do this Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and occasionally on the weekend if it works out. But that is probably going to be a rarity as my weekends are usually very busy. But I will do what I can in that regard. If you have any situational angles, trends related to MLB that you'd like me to look up right now, please drop them in the chat and I will look them up at some point during this show. With that being said, let's dive into the first trend of the day. And we are going to look at the Arizona Diamondbacks and how they've done at home in recent seasons when their bullpen has been particularly sharp in recent days. So we're going to look at season greater than or equal to 2021. Our team is going to be the Diamondbacks. We're going to look at them at home. And we're going to look when their previous game, their bullpen runs allowed were 0. And in their previous or 2 games ago, their bullpen runs allowed were also 0. So since 2021, the Diamondbacks at home when their bullpen has not allowed a run in each of the last 2 games. And I don't know why I'm getting this message. But you can see here the over-under, 10 overs, only 2 unders. These games have gone over by an average of more than 3.5 runs per game. Nice 59.3% ROI. Average score, Arizona 6.5, their opponent's 5.67. You can see down here that it is active today. Diamondbacks at home with Tommy Henry against the Phillies. And you can see Tommy Henry was actually the pitcher the last time this trend was active back on May 6th. It was an 8-7 game against the Nationals. And we even have a higher total than what we had in that game. Let's move on to the next one. This time we are going to look at something pitcher specific. We're going to look at just this season, and we're going to look at Jesus Luzardo and how he has performed and the team has performed when he pitches a night game. So we're going to go season 2023. We're going to use starter equals Jesus Luzardo. We're going to look at him in night games. Capital NGT is night, which in this database is all games that are started after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And so we will hit the button. And you can see here the Marlins are 8-0 this season, winning by 2.6 runs per game. And that's despite an average line of only minus 113. So a very nice 89.1% ROI here. You can see the games from this season. And it is active today. Luzardo and the Marlins opening up a series in Seattle against the Mariners. So again, I'm not too concerned with sample size. I'm more concerned with recency, the margin of victory, for example, 2.6 runs here, and also the ROI, which here is a very healthy 89.1%. Let's move on to another pitcher-specific trend. This time we're going to look at Tyler Anderson, and we're going to look at him in recent seasons against teams that are performing pretty well. So we're going to go back to season greater than or equal to 2021. We're going to make the starter Tyler Anderson. And we are going to look at him against teams who are outscoring their opponents by an average of at least a half run a game. So opponents average, and we're going to use runs minus opponents runs is greater than or equal to 0.5. So this is Tyler Anderson since 2021 against opponents who are outscoring their opponents by an average of at least a half a run per game on the season. And you can see here that Tyler Anderson is 12-4 straight up, despite being an average underdog of plus 113. He's actually even better on the run line, 14-2 on the run line. And you can see the ROI on the run line is higher as well, 69.6%. Average score in these games, Anderson's team 4.56, opponents 2.5. And that is active today. Anderson and the Angels on the road against the Texas Rangers. And you'll notice of the 4 games that lost, all 4 losses were by 1 run. So they don't have any multiple run losses in this set of games. So take a look at the Angels plus 1.5 runs as a potential play for today. And again, never base a bet on any single trend, angle, or piece of information. This is only one piece of the handicapping puzzle for that particular game. Question from the chat. Robert Martinez says, Dwayne, do you have any angles on Marlins Seattle first 5 under tonight? Unfortunately, the database doesn't spit out results for first 5s. I wish it did, because that's been a bulk of my plays this season. But yeah, I mean, it'll spit out plays for full game side, over full game over under, full game run line, but it doesn't give me any data on first 5s. If I want to do a first 5, for example, let's say in this example here with Tyler Anderson, let's say I want to see, I can look at what the score was. If I go, and I'll use date, opponent team, capital S5 will give me Anderson's team's total runs through 5 innings. And if I use opponents, capital S5, it'll tell me what their opponent's runs were after 5 innings. And it will give you a list, and you can see here, April 14th, 2021, when Anderson faced the Padres, Anderson's team was up 2-0 after 5 innings. It won't give you like what the first 5 lines were. So, it's not the whole equation. But you can definitely find out if you're willing to do the work here and go down the list and count and see, okay, how many runs were scored. So 2 runs scored there, 6 runs total against the Giants, 3 runs against the Dodgers, 1 total against the White Sox, and so on and so forth. So you'd have to kind of do it that way. But again, it doesn't tell you what the first 5 total was on the game, or what the first 5 total over-under record was in those games. So I wish it did have that, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But that was a good question, Robert. Thanks for that. I'm going to move in now to the next trend on my list. This time, we're going to look at something very recent. We're going to look at the Reds and how they've been doing lately in a specific situation. This time, we're going to use instead of season, we're going to use date. We're going to use date is greater than or equal to, and we always have to put in the 4-digit year, then the 2-digit month, and then the 2-digit day. So we're looking at since May 2nd of this year. Again, our team is the Reds. We're looking at them as a road underdog, capital A for away, capital D for underdog or dog. We're going to look at them in just night games. And we're going to look at when their opponent is STRs, starting a right-handed pitcher. Make sure I got that right. So since May 2nd, the Reds as road dogs in night games when their opponent is starting a righty. You'll see that despite being an average underdog of plus 139.4, the Reds are a perfect 5-0. Since May 2nd, as road dogs at night when their opponent starts a righty. So that's one heck of an ROI there, 139.4%. You can see the 5 games in that result, and you can see that it also applies today. Reds and Luke Weaver against the Royals and Zach Greinke. I'm very tempted to take the Reds in this game. First 5, don't trust. I mean, even though both bullpens suck, I don't want to leave anything to chance. But the Reds have just been a fun team to watch lately. They're good at, they're not a power hitting team. They don't rely on the home run to get runs. They're good at getting on base. They're good at stealing bases. They don't strike out a lot. That's the kind of team I like. They're fun to watch. Since they called up Ellie De La Cruz, he's sparked that team, playing very well in the last week or so. But Zach Greinke's in a bounce back spot today. So, yeah, it's tough. I haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet. Don't know if I will, but it's definitely on my radar as a potential play for today. Let's move on to another trend. We're going to look at the team here. We're going to look at just this season. We're going to look at the Miami Marlins and the Marlins on the road in interleague games. So we're going to go back to the season of 2023. Team equals Marlins on the road and against, it should be opponents league equals AL. So this will tell us the Marlins this season on the road in interleague games, or in other words, against AL opponents. And you'll see that the Marlins, despite being an average underdog of plus 135, they are 7-2 straight up for a very nice 89.7% ROI. And you can see that it is active today. Marlins and Luzardo, we mentioned him earlier, taking on the Mariners and Bryce Miller. This is another game that's on my radar that I haven't pulled the trigger on yet. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, the run line record is better at 8-1, but it kills the ROI down to 47.3%. Definitely looking at the Miami Marlins as a potential play today, as well as there are other factors that have me looking that way, but I have not pulled the trigger on that one yet either. And for this last trend, this is something I have not done in any of these videos yet, but we're going to look at a league-wide, an MLB-wide situational angle. And I've been focusing on team-specific and pitcher-specific trends. This time, we're going to look league-wide. And we're going to go back to 2019, greater than or equal to 2019. And we are going to look at teams that are averaging less than or equal to 3 walks per game. And the opponent's starter in his previous start allowed more than 5 runs. And in that same starter's start 2 starts ago, also allowed more than 5 runs. So we've got, since 2019, a team that is averaging 3 or fewer walks per game at the plate. And I tried to use capital BB for walks. It did not work. I actually had to type it out. And they're facing an opponent whose starter has given up more than 5 runs in each of his last 2 starts. So if we hit the button on that one, we can see these teams are 30-11 straight up, average line of basically minus 121 for an ROI of 35.6%. And we can see if we, well, actually, if we just hit the date column twice, it'll reverse the order of the games. And we can see that this is active. And again, it points to the Miami Marlins today on the road at Seattle against the Mariners. So that will do it for the trends that I had in the can for today. Chris said, "Hey, Dwayne, how do you come up with and find these trends?" Some of them are basically just things that I automatically look for in games. Like I will automatically look for how a pitcher has done on the road, how a pitcher has done on the road in night games, how a pitcher has done on the road at certain stadiums. Because if you have a pitcher that, say, he's pitched at a stadium 3 times and he's gotten shelled all 3 times, I'm going to assume that that's in his head when he goes there. And I do the same thing with teams. I look at team splits, how they do like home day games against lefties, home night games against lefties. Those are all ones that I automatically look up every game that I do. The more complex ones, like the one I just did, I actually have a subscription to the Fox Sheets, StatFox, I believe it is, the Fox Sheets. They're good at having trends and angles for each game. Now, what I did notice, though, is that when I find a trend there and I go to the SDQL database and I run it there, it never gives me the exact same record. So I always, whatever the StatFox sheets show me, I always take them over to the SDQL database and run it to see what I get there. I'm more trustworthy of the SDQL database than I am the Fox Sheets. But the Fox Sheets are still a great resource and a good starting point. And they're usually not off by too much. So it might just be a matter of the Fox Sheets might be looking at a certain parameter up to that point in the season or for the whole season, where the SDQL database might just be looking up that stat up until the day of that game, and then not using the full, in previous seasons, not using the full season's data. So, so that's pretty much what I do there. I have, like I said, there's some of the simpler current season ones, like, for example, the one I did on the Reds Road Dogs at night against righties. That's one I do for every game, every team. And then some of the more league-wide and complex ones I will get from the Fox Sheets, and then I'll run them in the SDQL database to see what that shows for that trend, because that's the record then that I will go with. Because with the Fox Sheets, you have no way of, like with the SDQL, it shows you each individual game that it applied for. Fox Sheets won't do that. They'll give you the trend, and they might break it down by the season or the last 3 seasons or the last 5 seasons, but they won't give you the individual games that angle applied to. So I have no way to actually verify how accurate that trend is. The best I can do is run it through the SDQL database, because that will give me the games and I can go from there. But that was a great question, though, Chris. Thanks for that one as well. So, guys, unless you have any other trends or angles for MLB today that you'd like me to look up, or any other SDQL-related questions, I'm going to call it a day. You guys, again, please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and also hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any live streams or videos on my channel. We'll do this again 11:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. If you guys want to check it out this afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on Wager Talk TV doing the first pitch show today, going over a couple games on the card. And that's it for me. Guys, best of luck on all of your wagers today, and I will see you either this afternoon on First Pitch or right back here 11:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow.